Pitchdeck Asia, my name is Graham Brown. We are in Singapore, joined by Balasz and Csaba from Aliz. Welcome, gentlemen. Thanks for coming to the show.
Thanks for having us again.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, and it's good to see you back. A bit of progress in the journey of Aliz. So we're going to talk about that as well. Why you're here as well. So I guess you're one of the reasons why we're here today. I mean, we want more people like you in the growing Aliz team. You gentlemen are both from Hungary.
Yes.
Let's just prove your credentials. Let's send out a hello or something in Hungarian to the people who may be in Budapest watching.
Yeah, sziasztok.
All right.
It's hi.
Okay.
Basically.
Yeah, I believe you. I'm sold on that. So you guys are in Singapore, Hungary, Germany?
And Munich, yes.
Munich and
These
Germany.
are the three offices that we have right now.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about your growth and where you've come from as well, because it's been an exciting journey. How long have you been doing this now?
That's a difficult question to answer. So in the current form, we're doing this now for about 2.5 years.
Yeah.
But the legacy of our team, and especially from the technology perspective, we've been doing this for over 10 years now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
you've got 10 years of experience in this space, but the actual company itself.
In its current form is about 2.5 years.
Yeah. And you founded the company?
Yeah, I'm one of the founders. Yeah.
Right. And so you consider yourself an entrepreneur? Because I know you've worked for some of the best tech companies out there. How do you find that entrepreneurial journey? Is that your sort of first venture into building a company?
Yeah, I guess I don't count my entrepreneur adventures into the booze trading when I was in Sweden back in the days. So I would say this is really my first attempt. But yeah, I always considered myself as an entrepreneur, and this was pretty much my aim to become an entrepreneur all the way, even when I was in the corporate world. And I mean it's quite different.
Yeah, it's a homecoming.
Yeah,
the booze trading.
Yeah,
come on, you got to tell us about this. I want to know a little bit about the story.
All right. So long story short, without hope none of the Swedish officials are watching this. So long story short, in Sweden there is only one, basically one chain that can sell you booze in the country, and it's pretty expensive. It's even more expensive than Singapore, and for poor students like what I was back in the days, it was pretty unaffordable. Not even mentioning that on Sundays you can only buy booze till 2 p.m. So it was pretty limited, even the time when you can buy. And back in the days, we figured out that there is a European Union law that you can bring into one state to the another state 10 liters of alcohol. So I was flying back to Budapest, coming back with 10 liters of Jim Beam or Danska vodka or whatever. And then we figured out that maybe my friends can come, and I think it was about 30, 40 euros.
Yeah.
And we made about 15, 20 bucks, 20 euros on a bottle. So it was a pretty lucrative business.
Yeah, you spotted an opportunity.
That we've been doing for a while I was there as a student. And we never really got the company or any illegal entities for that, but
it taught you a lot.
I would consider that was an attempt to become an entrepreneur from the beginning.
Very interesting. Yeah. Hustle is there.
Yeah, as a hustle.
It's like that movie Catch Me If You Can, where they're strapping all that money to their bodies when they're walking through the airport.
It was exactly like that, but the difference is that it was pretty loud when my friends were coming in. And
clink, clink.
Yeah, exactly. You saw them coming through the airport corridor and like ding, 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 ding.
Yeah,
and like,
here they come.
Yeah, and also like I think the officers know them already. By the face that they were flying in every week, basically. So,
yeah, I like these stories. I mean, we're going to go into your pitch deck and have a look at what you do now. It's a different world entirely, but there is an essence there of the hustle, the entrepreneurship. And if you look at all those sort of successful entrepreneurs today, like a Richard Branson, for example, they started with that sort of raw hustle, whether it was, in his case, sort of exporting records, vinyl records, and bringing them back into the country. You've got to have that sort of need to go out and make money out of whatever you have given to you, not necessarily a technology, but it's raw. Were you like that as a kid? Did you feel in any ways a bit of a hustler, or?
Yeah, I guess I mean even in the corporate world, I've kind of felt like being a hustle. So I guess that's why everybody when I said like, okay, I'm gonna leave the corporate world. I mean, I was working at Uber back then, and I left Google for Uber and etc. So like people were apart from my mom who was telling me like, what the hell are you doing? But everybody was telling me like, oh, this is so good. I'm so happy for you. And it was kind of annoying, to be honest. I was like thinking, okay, so if everybody is saying that it's so good, it must be there is a catch. So
apart from your mum.
Yeah, apart from my mom, who is usually saying the opposite of everybody. So I kind of like try to, think about, okay, so maybe she's right.
But she comes from a different era.
Of course,
where it's all about job security and career and so on.
In a way, and I think she's always trying to be the opposition.
Yeah.
Because she kind of knew that, like, this is the trend, and I mean, the chance that you're gonna make it is much lower than you're not. Yeah. So that's why I always tell. So if a friend of mine telling me that he or she is leaving the corporate world, first thing I say, are you sure?
Yeah.
So are you sure you want to do this? Do you know that this is not all that glory and not all that beauty that you see in the papers and in the podcasts and all out there. And I guess like the most important thing that you need is really that sort of hustling DNA.
Yeah, survival, isn't it? Right?
Yeah, like you need to have that, and I think that's also from the fact that we are from Hungary. I think that's an important thing. It's like it's a small country. There is not much opportunity for us to be on the world stage apart from like trying to make it outside, right? So it's a great place. It's a great community. Yeah, good people around. Like as you can see, like our team. But I think it's if you want to achieve more, there's really only you either try to get out there and make it yourself, or there's not no any other option.
Yeah, you can't rely on other people to make it for you, right? So we're going to talk about Aliz, and we're going to dive in and have a look at the company. But a part of that story we can't miss out. Csaba, you came from Hungary to Singapore, and this man here poached you. He brought you across. Did you know each other in Hungary before?
Yeah, sure. So I joined the Aliz team in this previous form 8 years ago.
Yeah.
So when the company was much more smaller and we were doing much more different things.
Yeah.
And when we started to do kind of look here in Singapore and Southeast Asia to do business, I was happy to join Balazs and make it work.
Was that an easy pitch to you? Hey, come to Singapore and help build the team. What was sort of going through your mind at that time?
Honestly, I during the university, I had a regret that I didn't really go abroad.
Yeah.
And I see the opportunity that now is the time that I can come here and kind of do the abroad experience. And first I was here for a few weeks, that's just doing some sales for customers. But I like the place. So when I came to Singapore, I don't know, I like the city, like the weather, the food. I think it's very, very good.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, so I think Singapore win me, and I moved here last July. And,
it was easy for you then. What about the people around you? I mean, I imagine some people didn't get it. Like, why go to Singapore? Like, they didn't even maybe understand where Singapore was. I know some people think it's in China.
So I think
it's not uncommon, right?
Yeah, to convince these people. So we actually move a lot of people to Singapore just for a while.
Yeah.
So like a month or 2 weeks. And then these people can actually see that what is Singapore, and I think their opinion changes.
Yeah.
So when they see with their own eyes that how it works, how it is to live here, I think they understand that why I'm here.
Great. Well, let's talk about why you're here. Let's talk about Aliz. Let's flash up the pitch deck if we can, Barrett, and take a look at that. Visually, let's talk about what you're about. Aliz. So there's the logo. I'm just going to flash through very quickly through the pitch deck just to give people an overview. So if people are watching on video, they can see this, but we can also describe it audio, because some people may just be listening. So I'm interested to know, what is the problem? Because often in this tech space, it's a solution looking for a problem. You started with a very clear idea of what the problem is first. And I guess a lot of this comes from your background as well, working with Google and Uber and so on, and seeing it firsthand. You're telling us the pipes were either broken or non-existent. The pipes to what? What is the problem?
So basically, unfortunately, this is a PDF, so you can't really see. There is a GIF here that shows this original idea of what we had in mind to create an assistant product. My problem was that I think I told this last time, that I hate to do things that I don't like, right?
Yeah.
Like, it sounds very stupid, but I hate to book air tickets. I hate to pay my bills, not just because I have to actually put money in it, but just like the fact that
The process.
and all that. So I was always wanted to have like a kind of like an assistant or someone who's taking care of all this kind of stuff. And I was working on this on these products when I was at Google. So I was working on search, and eventually it evolved into the Google Assistant that you have in your home right now, and all those. And my thinking was that actually for an assistant to really work, it should be doing things instead of you, and not just like telling you stuff, like telling you what the weather is, playing your music, etc. And I think the first wake-up call from reality came when we had the first client came in, and we saw that basically their infrastructure for data is basically so backwards, and it was a large company, so it was not something that, like some corner shop or something. It was a large company. It was a company that were serving millions of users every day, and their data infrastructure was pretty broken. So when I say the pipes were broken, it meant that basically the pipes to being able to serve an assistant, because basically any machine learning or artificial intelligence or any of the stuff that you would need to be able to do this kind of automation that we've been dreaming of, or that we had as a vision, you need a proper data infrastructure. And the data infrastructures, the pipes, as I like to call it, they were pretty broken.
Or non-existent.
Non-existent.
Yeah, exactly.
Or in silos, everything's in pools, aren't they, rather than shared data as well, which is a problem. What is that vision then? Because like you say, I like the idea of having an assistant that can just do stuff for me rather than just tell me what the weather is. I mean, that's sort of gimmicky, I feel. I mean, it's great, but at the end of the day, I need somebody to pay my utility bill or to book a flight, like you say. That sounds quite a way away from where we are now with assistants. I don't know the situation. Where are we with that? How close? Because I can go onto Upwork and hire somebody in the Philippines for maybe $10 an hour who can do that for me. So put all this together. Give us the meta view of assistants, virtual assistants, chatbot assistants.
Yeah, I guess the question is really, and then maybe Csaba can give you an update or an overview from the technology perspective, but I think from just in general, the problem is that really none of the assistants are integrated into our everyday life. And my thinking and like the way I see this is that our life just became so utterly complex, basically. Like we have to deal with so many different things. So like I used to bring this example that basically we don't talk about work-life balance anymore. Like when I started my career, everything was work-life balance. Now we are talking about work-life blending. So we are basically have our life and then we blend work into that. We reply to emails on the treadmill. We basically wake up and check our emails and reply, etc. So like everything is just so much more complex. And this is why I believe that the companies that are going to be successful in the future are the ones that can make this life more simple, or like can automate some of the stuff that are just bringing in more complexity. And those companies are already out there. You got your banks, you got your tackles, the utilities basically. I think like an airline company is a utility already. Basically, you need to get from A to B. It's like the municipal bus company was in the past. So I think those are the companies that needs to step up to their game. And I think in terms of the assistant products, they need to be integrated to their services. So there's a two-way that has to be basically on the same page, like from the consumer facing, like the assistant that doesn't just tell you the weather, and also those companies have to have the willingness to be able to integrate to them. So I think till we are not integrated, we will be pretty far from the vision. But I think from the technology perspective, it is all possible already. So
the pieces are out there. So if you're talking about an assistant, my vision is, if you're familiar with Iron Man, is Jarvis.
Yeah.
So Jarvis can do for you basically anything. And the pieces are out there. So basically you can do, you can convert speech to text, then you can do natural language processing to understand the text somehow. But I think the missing part sometimes is actually get the data, because your data is scattered around different products. So you use different apps for ride sharing, you use different apps for calendar. And in order to have an assistant, all this data needs to be collected in one place and needs to be accessible by the assistant.
Do you need like APIs for that, or can the assistant access it like a human being would and just process that data accordingly?
So if you have an API, it's much more easier.
Yeah.
If you need to go and kind of scrape the data, it's a very messy business.
Yeah. Okay.
But usually, especially the new products already do have an API. So you can integrate with them, you can get the data out, but they are also very different from each other. So you need to integrate with it, and you need to add some kind of intelligence to the assistant to make it flexible. Because if you have a product and they are slightly changed the API, then the integration is broken.
Yeah. So what is your vision? Because you mentioned the word vision. And say 5 years from now, what will the world be like, assuming you're successful? What kind of an impact? Because we've sat through a lot of these industry presentations, haven't we? And people have painted pictures of what it's going to be like. You know, the classic example is the fridge orders your shopping for you. Those ones. I haven't seen that yet. I mean, we've had those Amazon buttons, right, which haven't really worked, have they? Where you can order cat litter, for example.
Yeah.
Where do you think it's really going to impact? Because I often feel when people talk about visions for these kind of technologies, often it's the much more mundane day-to-day stuff that it impacts rather than the really exciting things.
Yeah, so right now you have solutions for very specific problems. So fridge can order some food.
Yeah.
But my vision is that you have kind of a general assistant, so which can help you in a lot of areas in your life. So it can order food, it can pay your bills, it can book your calendar and everything. But honestly, I think this is not like a 5-year plan. I will be glad if I gonna see this in my lifetime.
Really? Is it that far? Because it's more general artificial intelligence?
Yeah, I think so.
And that's a bigger goal, isn't it? We've seen, for example, like those apps like Evie, you know, the personal assistant apps, the ones that sort of fix meetings. A lot of people started using them. They sort of dropped off using them because they had to manage the assistant. Or, like you mentioned, for example, like with the APIs, I think it works until it doesn't work, and then it becomes work. You're having to fix 20% of the scenarios where it doesn't work, and then it becomes more work, right? Why do those sort of fade away a little bit, and where do you think you're going to do something different?
I think that the problem is that they are for specific problems. So if you want to do something which is not kind of supported, it's not implemented yet, then you cannot use it. And I think the real life is always much more messier than how the kind of the people design these products. So life always gets surprises and features which are not yet implemented. And that's why I think it's not like a 5-year goal, because you need to build a more general AI to solve these issues for you. Because if you need to code something, it's gonna take time. It needs to be developed, and but a general AI can solve these issues later. But we are not still there yet.
Yeah, it's time. Balazs, what do you think would be, in your mind, a good marker, a good waypoint for progress, where you could say this can fix this problem in our lives? It may not be, a really exciting problem, but a very basic problem that we have. And you said, I think that where we're going with our progress, this is really where we're reaching to now. If we can do this, like fridge ordering shopping, for example, I don't know if that's one of your goals, but whatever it is, give us a tangible example of where you think this is going to work first.
I mean, a very tangible example would be if I can just tell my Google Home or whatever the platform is that just book me the cheapest ticket to KL for tomorrow, and that's it.
Why is that? Why is that a challenge? Why can't I just go to Kayak or Skyscanner?
You can go, but I don't want to. That's the point. I'm cooking dinner and I just remember, I need to fly tomorrow to KL.
Yeah.
And I just say, hey, Google, book my flight to KL. And that's it. I don't need to go to Kayak. I don't need to look through which one is the cheapest, which one is the one that I like, which one is the, less hassle to if I need to go through a connection, all those things. This is something that is already known.
Do I have to learn, if I'm the assistant, do I have to learn about you, your preferences, like you say, hassle? Like, for example, you may be okay with taking indirect flights.
Yeah, I guess.
You may not.
I guess that's the point, right? Like, because when you go to Kayak or Skyscanner, you're looking through a list of different flights, right? And then you choose the one that you prefer. Like, you don't like to fly XY, or you don't like to, layover like more than 2 or 1. These are all things that are your preferences. You rather pay a little more for a better airline. So these are things that the assistant can learn. And I think that's the goal of an assistant, right? Like it knows you. That's why it's personal. I think even if it just saves me in average like 10, 15, 20 minutes a day, I think that's a lot already.
Yeah.
Because again, like I really believe that our life is just getting more and more complex. And basically technology is supposed to solve a lot of the problems, but it also creates a lot more problems. Or I wouldn't call it problems, but more complexity in our lives. And it's just, that's the way it is, right? Like cars supposed to make traffic faster and like easier to get from A to B, but it also created a lot more other things that you needed to be aware, right? Like, and it created more complexity for an individual, for a whole society. And whatever happens, even if it's gonna be self-driving cars, there will be other things that are gonna be added to our lives. And this is why I believe that these are the things that we need to catch up. And again, like the airline or like the ticket is just one example, but I think like ordering food from your fridge is another great one. I think that's been a promise for 15 years.
Yeah, where is it?
Yeah, where is it? Yeah, exactly.
Well, I find, Balazs, that the challenge for us as individuals, as users of these technologies, and just generally, like you say, it's getting more complex in day-to-day life. I think it's less about the time and more about making decisions.
Yeah.
Because I feel, and we talked about what you had for breakfast off air, and anybody that comes to the studio gets asked for the mic test, right? And I mentioned Barack Obama as an example, and apparently he had, whilst in office, he had 2 boiled eggs every day. And they asked him why, and he said, well, I make 7,000 decisions a day, one of which is pressing the button or not, So you don't want me wasting a decision on what I'm going to have for breakfast. And I feel in this day-to-day life is we're making so many decisions that if somebody can just take some of those decisions away, it's not the time per se, but if you can say, all right, book a flight for me. Yeah. And if that thing then comes back, the assistant comes back and says, I've got all these options. I'm like, just decide, just deal with it. Because you know me. Yeah. And you know what I like and what I don't like. Just deal with it. If you can do that, for me, I'm like, great. That's what I need in my life. Something to make decisions for me that aren't really important to my day-to-day life. But, they're sort of taking away energy from the big decisions like, my work and so on. Right? Yeah. So I think it's that decision fatigue. It's real, right? Yeah. There's studies done on it. You start up here in the morning, and then every decision you make sort of takes one away from your stack. Yeah. Until by lunchtime you're left with nothing. Then you're just sort of on autopilot, right? Yeah. So I'm interested to see how you guys are going to address that, because that's really sort of, mental wellness, I think, for people. I think we're overwhelmed with decisions on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. This is the other thing, and I think it's like plays on the complexity, that the reason why we need to make so many decisions is because we are living such a complex life, right? From starting with, we have so many options for breakfast. Like,
what are you going to wear?
What am I going to wear? Yeah, I changed shirts 3 times this morning.
I have 5 of these.
Yeah.
I'll confess.
That's
I have
easy,
5 of these.
yeah.
It's the
It's
same
easy.
every day, right?
Like that's a Mark Zuckerberg style. Then you get
It works for him.
Yeah,
It
it
works
works for
for-
him. Yeah, exactly.
There's a takeaway from this podcast already. All right,
Yeah.
a quick fire round. I want to get into the world of Aliz and learn a little bit about you guys as a team before we sort of jump back out and look at some more of the pitch deck. I'm going to ask you some tough questions
Yep.
to open up the world of Aliz and you too as well.
Yeah.
As you know, you can also talk on behalf of your team as well. I'm sure they'll approve.
They would love that.
Yeah, exactly. Talk for them in very edited version. Let's start then. Who wants to go first? Who wants to step up? I think it has to be you, Balash. I
Yeah, I can
volunteered
go
you.
for
All right.
it, yeah. All right.
Okay, so Aliz, explain your business to a 5-year-old. And by the way, 5-year-olds do not understand data
Yeah.
science, AI, machine learning, unless they're super genius.
Yeah, yeah. I guess. So I'll start with something, and then maybe we can even more simplify it, because I would say that we're helping businesses to automate their operations. I guess the 5-year-old wouldn't really understand what operations mean.
Yeah, so let's simplify a little bit.
So even we can.
Why operations?
What is operations? Yeah. I guess like we can say that you know those toy highways the 5-year-old would play. So
Yeah.
we help them. We help businesses, or we help you to automate the build-up process of that.
Right, okay,
Yeah.
we're
So you
getting
can
closer.
so you can play with it right away.
Okay, I think they get that. What do you think, Csaba? Do you want to improve on that?
Yes, so basically, I think I would say that we help the decision makers make decisions. So I get back to your previous question.
Yeah.
So if you provide data,
Well, a 5-year-old won't get that.
the data,
Yeah.
basically we provide the building blocks.
I get
for the
bricks.
bricks for
Yeah.
the decision makers, which
Yeah.
then help them to build their business.
Okay. All right, I get that. Building stuff with bricks.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. I think we'll let you off. That's a pass. All right. You simplified that enough. I want to know about your team as well. How many people in your team? Here in Singapore, firstly.
Here in Singapore, we are 10 people at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah. And in Europe?
In Europe, we are about 50 plus.
50 plus.
Yeah.
So 10 here in Singapore. You work together in the same office?
Yeah, I mean, like we got our own office, but a lot of time, actually, people are out with customers.
Yeah.
So we spend a lot of time with the customers, and that's one of the most important part of our business, that we are pretty hands-on with the customer and not just like, some faraway office doing something that they don't even see. So
Yeah, which is common in tech, right?
yeah, it is very common, and I think that's one of the key differentiator, that we are very, very close to our customers, and not just the technology piece or not just the tech decision makers, but actually the business as well.
Okay. Do you know each other really well?
You mean with the colleagues?
Yeah. How well do you think you know each other?
It depends.
Yeah.
We got one person who just started on Monday. I guess like I wouldn't call him someone who I know very well yet.
Yeah.
But hopefully we're gonna get to know each other very well.
Great.
And also the geographical distances. So if we have a new hire in Budapest,
Yeah.
of course we don't really know her or him so well. But for example, in the next 2 weeks, they're going to be an offsite in Hungary where the whole company going to be there for a week. And this is kind of a good opportunity to get to know each
So
other
everybody
better.
from Singapore and Hungary
Yeah,
together?
exactly.
That's going to be interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, looking for it.
First time. So
Yeah.
it's first time we became global, I would say. Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it is definitely. And a lot of our people who were like here in Singapore, they never been to Hungary or
Right, you have
yeah.
Singaporeans in your
Yeah,
team as well?
exactly. So
Not
I
just
think
Hungarians?
Not just
Oh.
Hungarians. No, like we are even in Hungary. We got French and like other nationalities as well. So or like other Europeans.
Yeah, okay.
We are looking to grow that piece as well.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute. I want to understand a little bit about the team here. You don't drink coffee.
No.
Who drinks the most coffee in the office?
Basically every developer, but I think Zoltan.
Yeah.
Zoltan?
He's here in Singapore. But
Yeah.
I think the thing is that once he moved to Singapore, he started to drink less coffee. So in
Right.
Budapest, it was like a huge amount. But now he's in Singapore, I think it's less.
Yeah.
Yeah, we used to run a project together in Dubai a few years ago, and we spent a lot of time with him, or I spent a lot of time with him, and he drank about 6 to 7 cups of coffee And I asked him like, why do you need all this energy? And he said, no, I just like the taste.
Okay.
I'm like, yeah, okay, that's fair enough. Okay.
That works.
Yeah, exactly.
Who do you think is the funniest in your team, Balazs? You can't say yourself, by the way.
No, I don't think I am the funniest by far. I would say it's Miklos.
Yeah, Miklos.
Why is he
it's,
funny? What sort of character is he? I guess he's Hungarian.
He's Hungarian. He's a character, I would say.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's just those, pretty cynical person that you would imagine how an actual developer would be. Like everything is of course broken.
Okay.
That's the default stage.
Yeah.
Nothing can be really fixed, but you can get close to being fixed. So I really like his cynicism, I would say.
It's a positive cynicism.
Yeah.
It's healthy
cynicism,
Yeah.
like when he just smokes and it's not gonna work.
But
you know
want-
that
you
it's
want that
already
guy on
pretty
your
good,
team.
actually. Sorry?
Yeah, you want that guy on your team, right?
Absolutely,
Because you
yeah.
don't want everybody saying, yeah, this is great, this is all going to work.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
want-
yeah. Yeah, because if you ask a sales guy and he would say, everything is so beautiful, like...
Positive.
But yeah, exactly. And he would say, this guys is not gonna work. It's not
Good.
gonna
I
work."
like that. I like a different viewpoint. Csaba, you obviously know Balazs reasonably well. Describe to us a habit that will help describe Balazs. What does he do? What's sort of quirky or interesting or strange about Balazs that we haven't experienced here on the podcast?
Yeah, I think so. He sees the world sometimes in but told about Miklos, he's exactly the opposite. So he sees kind of the bright side, and he's very optimistic about things. And I think good to have someone in the team who can kind of keep the balance.
Yeah. Do you think he's too over optimistic?
Not really. I think he has like a vision,
Yeah.
and he imagined this vision and the past together. And he's maybe a little bit ahead on this path, but I think it's good.
Do you find? I mean, you are a visionary. Obviously, you've been elected as the visionary.
It's good to thank you.
Do you find when you're out there talking about automation and assistance and so on, sometimes you're talking to a lot of people who don't get it? Do you think the market is open to this?
I think they're more than open, and that's also a problem.
Right. In
a
what
way. We live in a world where I would say like everybody is more think more about stuff that is actual reality. So I think it is not hard to sell the vision. The vision is the easiest thing to sell. The execution is the difficult part. So I would say that's it's much harder to tell you the steps or get your buy-in to the steps to get to the vision rather than like just tell you the vision.
Right.
They would say, yeah, I love the vision. That's why we were able to pull off these businesses at the beginning with just the vision without having the execution steps or without knowing, in fact, how to get there like a few years ago. And it's the same right now. Like if I pitch the vision, everybody would love that.
Yeah.
If I tell you, yeah, we're going to start from fixing your data. We're going to come in and we're going to be your plumbers. And it's like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't want to see all these things in the back. Like, I just want to have my customers this wonderful experience that you guys are talking about. And it's like, yeah, but that doesn't really work like this, right? So like and the reason why we're far, and this is basically what we mean by the pipes are broken, is that you need to get your pipes fixed. So I would say that the vision is an easy thing to sell. So I try to graduate myself out to be an executioner right now.
Yeah.
Just being from.
I like some of the
visionary.
analogies you use. You say you're plumbers and also the pipes.
Yeah, I mean these guys know it better, but I always feel like we gotta go down to the drainage and
unblock.
Sometimes you don't want to see what you find.
Do you see your work in those terms? I mean, it's a very sort of an engineering approach to the problem, isn't it? It's like if you see yourself as plumbers, you see yourself as fixing the pipes. People will get that. Somebody said, well, maybe I don't want to be a plumber, but I understand what a plumber does, and I have skill, I have talent, I can apply it here. Is that a fair analogy for what you do? The plumbing of the internet or data?
Yeah, but not just plumbing. So actually we fix the plumbing, set down the foundation, and then actually we can start to build on it. So we have engagement with customers, which are going on for years. And we started with the foundation, set the expectation first, which is, I think, the hardest part, because as Balazs told, that the vision is there. But at the beginning, set the expectation, what's reality. And if we kind of agree on that, we can start with the plumbing and actually go to the more exciting stuff.
Okay, good. So last question about your team that I want to know is that what's the one thing you do together as a team? Like, I want to know, I mean, obviously you sit and you have meetings, that's fine, that's what every team does. Or maybe you don't have meetings, maybe that's what's different about you, maybe you're Amazon style.
Yeah, that's actually an important thing. I guess we're trying to limit the meetings. I mean, for me, one of the worst things of being in the corporate world were the meetings.
Yeah.
So like one of my ex-bosses used to say that if you don't want to work, just pull up a meeting, get people to a meeting, and then, you can talk about whatever. So
look busy.
Look busy, exactly. So make your calendar full at the meetings. So I guess like meetings is an important part that we try to limit them as much as possible. Don't know if you agree, but something that something we, especially for the engineers, we're trying to
focus on the actual execution.
Yeah.
It's not on meetings.
Yeah, there's meetings where you bring in a lot of people together.
Yeah.
To sit around and talk, which are just kind of like, I think, a waste of time.
Yeah.
But there's meetings, I think important meetings like the one-on-ones.
Yeah.
Where I can sit with you and
exactly,
talk.
that's important.
Those are really important because it's communication, and I think sometimes it's important to structure communication.
Yep.
Like when you're working on a project, sometimes you're deep into it. You want to communicate with somebody and maybe you don't have time to do that. So those work. What do you do as a team? Like, what kind of activities? Do you have a yoga class or do you have a ball pit? Or
we have.
You
actually.
do?
So in Budapest, there is a yoga class every Wednesday, I think.
Okay.
So there is a group of people who do yoga, and there are different groups. So some people go to do rock climbing, some running. So there are groups in the company, and they do these things together.
Yeah.
What about here in Singapore? Anything you do together? We, as a team, eat together for lunch. It's simple, but I think that works
for
quite
sure.
we do that.
I think it's basic. So once we are in the office and not at clients, we go together and have lunch together.
Where do you eat? Are you like a fancy
this
restaurant
is kind
or
of the
hawker
hardest.
center?
No, this is the hardest decision every day.
This is another decision.
I love this. You want to do something about
you need to automate that, Balash. Come on.
Yeah. No, absolutely. We need. Yesterday we've been, thinking about where to go for a good 15 minutes. But we are in the CBD. We are in Tanjung Pagar, so there's quite a few options there.
Yeah.
So there is a big variety. So I guess like that's a good idea to do something that can automate this decision.
There you go.
I would be happy.
Yeah, but I think it's important to note here that while we do things together, nothing is mandatory. So I don't believe in the mandatory team activities, because I think that's especially in a lot of companies that got into a different level where you need to do like whatever, if I like to play football, you guys all come and play football. Now this is obviously a over exaggerated example, but like, you know what I mean? So I think for us, it's very important that nothing is mandatory apart from maybe once a year we do this offsite, which is, so far, it was mainly for the Budapest office that we had last year and the year before. But now we're going to have this global. I think it's going to be a good opportunity for all our staff to be together for a little bit and get to know each other. And it's a good fun. It's only one weekend, so it's not something that requires a lot of investment from our people time, because I also like to be conscious that, you work for us or you work with us, but we don't want to take all your time. I'm perfectly fine if you do whatever. If you like to hang out with us in your free time, it's good. If you like to hang out with your actual friends and your wife or whoever, I think that's even better. So nothing is mandatory, but yeah, we do like lunch. Definitely we be together. Sometimes you go for dinner. We like Korean barbecue. That's I think that's almost like became a
having a few beer maybe.
Yeah.
So I think it's part of how you can build a team, and sometimes you go out, have a dinner, have a few beer, because it helps to make the day-to-day work more effective between you.
It's good to
Communication and
communicate,
everything.
isn't it? And learn a little bit about each other beyond what you're making on a day-to-day basis as well, and learn how people think about problems as well. What are the relationships like in the office? Like, you know, some offices, people consider themselves friends. Do you consider yourself a mentor? Do you consider yourself a boss? How is all? Do you have sort of thoughts on that? Because I think the sort of structure, it's the soft touch of culture. I mean, you've been in the corporate world. You've seen that done the right way and the wrong way a bit, like you say about the team building exercises. We're all going to go to this hut on a mountain together and you know, practice our mission statement. You've seen all that, right? But how are those relationships with your team? You know, how do you consider yourself with the rest of the team members? What role do you think you have?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna be like Vin Diesel, you know, we're like family, but I think family, I like to call it, because it's especially from the people who've been there from the beginning. I think we are close friends too, and like also with Chubby and pretty much with the other co-founders and people in Budapest. So, and I think it's a really good environment to join, because we are pretty open for anyone to join. So like we got people who like, I think we like they joined a year ago but then they still considered part of that group, and pretty much everybody can join that group. But if you don't want, you don't have to. So I guess like that's why I think I would call more friends, family. That's what I like about it, because I had a lot of friends in the corporate world as well. It was like for example, at Google, I really loved my colleagues, and a lot of the people are still my friends. So as at Uber and some other places where I used to work, but it's still quite different. How? Because I guess just the sheer size and why we're working on these things, and I guess like, you know, as always, you join a small company from a big company because I think you bought into the mission and you want to really create something that is great and you believe that what the company is doing. B, you want to get out of the corporate world, you want to work less, and you believe that you think that it might be different at the small company, which is not necessarily the case. So I think it's more the A part, and I think like we're doing exciting enough stuff for people to be involved. We work with other companies on a day-to-day basis, so it's not like we are solely focused into something that we believe it's going to change the world, and like we're building it, and you know, and then like we will see if it really or not. But we actually work with other big companies out there who are already changing or who are already affecting people's life, and I think it's a great it's just a great thing to be part of. And it's you don't just feel like you're a small wheel in a big machine, but you're really driving the change, no matter
make a difference.
Make a difference, right?
No matter where you are in the organization. And you know, the organization is like, when you're in a corporate world, you are in a big organization. You have levels, you get all these different things. So I guess it's for us that it doesn't really exist.
And also we like put a lot of efforts to align the personal goals with the company direction, because I believe that this is, I think, one reason why we can keep the engineers at the company.
How does that work in practice? I mean, it sounds great, but what's the reality there, aligning personal goals with company?
So we have a system. Basically, every person in the company has a people leader, and we have one-on-ones regularly, like weekly or bi-weekly. And in these one-on-ones, we discuss the personal goals, and basically all these personal goals are gathered at the company level. And when we kind of design or plan the strategy, we kind of factor these goals in it.
Right. So personal goals would be stuff like what? Like
I
want to
do
Chinese.
IoT. So if the company doesn't do anything, and basically a lot of developers want to do some work in the IoT field, then we can kind of direct the company in a way that we pick up projects from the IoT field. So that's kind of example.
Yeah. Interesting.
I think it's very important what Chubby is saying about the people leader system that we have, because it's not it's not a hierarchy.
It's not like a boss.
No.
Yeah, it's not a manager, and that's why we call it not manager or boss or whatever. It's a people leader, meaning that person is actually the person who is basically defending your interest and advocating your interest within the company. So if you're a people leader, your job is to basically advocate for the person, which is, I think, it's a great way for both of the people, whoever the people leader role or whoever is in the other role, to sort of get into in a much better state than if I'm your manager, I tell you what to do. And by the way, I will defend you when there is like promotions or whatever. So it's a very, we are a very flat, we operate in a very flat structure. So we don't really have a strong hierarchy. And we believe in this, and it works for us very well. And this is something that I really like, compared to obviously the big corporate structures. And
you've seen that, right? You've experienced the good and the bad,
I guess,
taking the best out of it, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I guess like there is a size where you can't really avoid being just the hierarchy. We are not that size yet, and probably we are not never going to be that size, because the reason why we're doing this business is because we want to be in this more family environment.
Yeah, and you're privately funded as well, right?
Yes.
Which is an important part of that, because you can call the shots rather than, hey guys, you got to be a 100x return on our investment.
Exactly.
$1 billion. You need to be a unicorn or go home, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it's privately funded, meaning that we are funding ourselves. So we didn't take external capital, and this is something that we would like to keep the way it is right now, which I think we are pretty fortunate that we were able to finance from just making, just doing a business that is great and there is demand for. And it's, the difference between when someone is sitting on your neck and,
very different.
Be a unicorn and go home, and that, you can actually call the shots is huge.
Great. We've had a good conversation, and if the listeners or viewers are this far in, I'm sure they're interested in how they can be part of this journey as well, because you're hiring at the moment. So let's talk about that. Specifically, do you have requirements in hard skills and geographies that you're hiring in? So can you run through what your shopping list is in terms of talent, the kind of things you're looking for, and where?
Yeah, I guess we are looking for people across all the 3 offices that we have right now. So Singapore, Munich, and Budapest, with the opportunity to move across these locations. In terms of skills, I would give the stage to Csaba, because he's the one who needs to interview.
So basically we don't really look for like very hard skills right now, because it's very hard to find that specific skill set on the market what we are looking for. I think what we are looking for is some generic experience in the field, in data or in cloud, and kind of good problem-solving skills, because and good skills to learn new things, because we work with a lot of new technologies on the way, new services, new technologies, and these needs to be picked up by the candidate, by our colleagues on the way. And I think that's the most important thing.
So base level of experience in these areas, but not necessarily being a specialist. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, specialist in some other areas. So basically, we work on the Google Cloud, but it's very hard to find talent who already has experience on the Google Cloud. So other than that, we are looking for people who maybe have experience with other clouds or just on-prem data engineering, ML stuff, and we can teach the specific technology stack we are using during the onboarding process. I think the most important thing is kind of the soft skills, be able to communicate with the customer and be able to pick up new things fast.
So people who are technically talented but can communicate to customers, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's the bridge. That's the key missing gap a lot in this market, isn't it? People are one or the other.
Yeah, exactly. That's the tough piece to find, but it's not impossible. I think in terms of experience, we are looking for more senior people also who have experience in engineering already. But as Csaba said, that if I put out that we are looking for Google Cloud data engineers, So one half of the people either work for us or for Google or for a few other companies, but it's not something that you can just pick up from the market,
Right.
from the job market. So I think it's the person has to have a good base from the other stuff, but the rest we can actually teach. And this is another thing that is, I think, very valuable for whoever join our team, that we get a pretty good curriculum for anyone to learn these technologies, and we believe the most advanced technologies around data and machine learning. So that's not a requirement, but the good base is definitely good. The good foundations, experience.
We can build on.
Yeah, exactly. You can't train the other stuff. You can't train the mindset
Exactly.
stuff. Do they have to be believers in something? And I ask because when we recruit here, we want people who believe in podcasting. So they're already consuming it, listening, even making their own. That is so important for us because then we don't have to sell it to them. They're already on board. They believe in the mission. What about with your recruits, the people that you want in your team? What do they have to believe in that maybe separates them from everyone else?
I think they need to believe in the whole idea behind the clouds. I think that's one important thing, and also that they can make a difference. So we work with very big companies, but and we are not so big. But I think they need to believe that they are able and they need to make a difference for these big companies.
Yeah, I think that's a very good way to put it. So, like, if you're the one person who's supposed to change those pipes in a multinational bank or a multinational airline company, you need to believe that you're able to do it.
Yeah.
And you don't need because the technologies that we're working with, it doesn't require, have 100 engineers to deploy to a client. You need to believe that you're able to do on your own and make a huge difference.
Yeah, I like that. That is very good. So what is the best way to reach out to you? LinkedIn? Works for you?
LinkedIn,
website.
yeah.
Tell them you've watched this podcast.
Yep, exactly.
I think that shows that you probably eliminate a lot of time wasters, right?
Yeah,
They
for sure.
haven't bothered to watch it. You want people who watch that and say, I watched it to the end, I'm on board, I listened to your story. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sign me up.
I mean, that's a great start, I would say, that in terms of someone to send the CV and just attach a little story about how they heard about us.
Yeah.
But I guess there are multiple channels. I mean, we are all on LinkedIn, for example. Like, we are all accepting also, of course, the applications through LinkedIn, the website. We get a recruitment team, so any channel works. Just reach out to us, and we are happy to talk to anyone who is basically fitting to the criteria that we are looking for.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us today and sharing your story and your update as well. It's good to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you too.
Csaba and Balazs from Aliz, wishing you all the best. And as you say, if people are interested in what you're doing and want to be a part of something and make a difference, then reach out.
Yep.
Exactly. Take a chance. You never
Absolutely,
know.
Yeah.
Like with yourself, Csaba, you never know where it may go. End up in a new city somewhere in the world.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it's all about, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I really enjoyed
Thank you
that.
very much.
Thank you for having us.
Hi, Graham Brown from Pitchdeck Asia. Pitchdeck Asia, powered by Pitch Media Asia. Pitchdeck Asia is all about giving startup founders a voice. We are a show to help startup founders share their journey. So if you enjoy these stories, then why not subscribe to our YouTube channel? There's the subscribe button over there. Hit that subscribe button. Follow us on the journey. Leave a comment. I look forward to seeing you at the next episode.